Hi, welcome back to Real Talk with T&M. January is come and gone, so it's time for us to do our second episode.
Yes.
And our second episode is about vulnerability in friendships. And that was the message that we wanted to share with you guys today. First and foremost, it's my honor and my privilege to introduce my best friend, Tina. I told you guys she would be here last time we missed her, but she's here. And so I want her to give an introduction to you guys so that you guys can get to know her and all the reasons that I love her. So go ahead and share all about you.
Yeah, so I've known Miranda for like 10 years now. We met in college like back in 2009.
Yeah, it was 2009.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was so long. So it's been like over 10 years.
Girl, it's been like 16 years.
16 years? Oh my gosh, going on 20. Okay, so we need to do that, what we were talking about, the anniversary.
Yes. So we have this plan.
Yeah, I know.
Because I've never been to Las Vegas. But
oh yeah, actually we were talking about that when we were cooking. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to Las Vegas on our 20th year anniversary. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll do other stuff in between, but our 20th anniversary, we're gonna like do a whole big thing, go out to Vegas, get some stuff done, go and travel.
Oh yes.
Do a spa day or something.
And you're gonna know about it too.
Yes, so. We'll vlog it. We will vlog it for sure.
So I like to think of myself as a pioneer. I actually came out here in Utah when I was like 18 years old. I barely spoke any English. I felt like when I met Miranda in college, she was just so kind. She just has that, you just want to be around her, and just not to go off script here, but just like some of the things that we used to do in class that I still to this day, we would just talk about it and we just laugh, but we would just like be the ones in the back with, eating and
our bag of
Cheetos. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, still this day, still just great memories,
Yes.
And we've just been friends ever since. And I actually was sponsored by a couple who actually came on my small little tiny island in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific. We can get to that another time.
It's actually really cool.
It's a really cool story. But this couple, they're everything to me. They were there on a work assignment, and they came to our little branch in a small village, and that's where they met me and my sister, was through the church. And they decided to bring me and my sister out here to get an education, and everything is just history from there.
It's just been like a huge change for you.
Absolutely. And till this day, she is my absolute my person. She's my person. She's, she's not my blood, but she's my grandma. I go to her for everything. And we're going to have a ton of topics that I'm going to have a ton of experience to share about.
Have her as a guest.
Yes. I was going to just talk about that. Oh my gosh. Let's reading my mind all of a sudden.
Yes. We're going to have grandma on as a guest officially.
But, and so just a little bit of background. I actually, my background is in social work. I worked with all kinds of people, from children to adult, just really being an advocate for them. Because when I think of people, I like to think of them as individuals who have their own story to tell, have their own backgrounds, have their own goals and lives that they're going through, and their own problems, right? And so you can't treat everybody the same, and that's the beauty about working with people is, everyone's different, and you just gotta learn to adjust, and you gotta learn to, especially when you're working with people, to really learn who they are and where they're going in life, and how can you be an advocate for them. And so that's
one thing I've always loved about Tina, is that she's like always respected everybody's autonomy and treated them as like a human being should be treated, and not just like, oh, you're just another person that I've bumped into. Like, you've always customized like your interactions with people, and it customized like your friendships and like your interactions with them. Like, it's just a beautiful thing that you do.
Thank you. It's nice to hear.
It's true.
And so I think as we're going along, we're gonna have like I said earlier, we're gonna have a ton of topic, and I'm gonna bring out a lot of personal experience. And the reason why like she said, the way that I am like that is because of just my background too, and how I was, how I was brought up, and the culture that I had to live through and learn and endure in certain ways that I would put it. And there's a lot of reason why I am the way I am today, because of all these little things that I had to grew up with, or survive. Exactly, that's the word. Yes. So yeah, I like to think of yes. So I don't know, just some fun things about me. I love the color yellow and purple because I feel like it defines a lot of my friendship with Myranda here. Yellow and purple means great friendship, right?
Yes.
Symbolizes friendship. Mm-hmm. And so honestly, it doesn't take a lot for me to be upset, but if you take away my noodles and kimchi, I'll be really, really mad.
Or curry.
Oh, curry, yeah, that's right.
Curry too.
So I love cooking. I love hiking. I love just being with friends. I love dancing.
She's a great dancer.
I love photography.
She's the one who takes all my photos when I do all of my modeling.
So it took a lot for Myranda to get me here, being in front of the camera, because I'm usually, behind camera, and that's where I'm comfortable and happy.
That's where the pro goes. Here, but, the pro goes behind the camera. So it's a special treat to have you next to me.
Yeah. So I'm absolutely happy to be here. And so, yeah, there's just some things about me.
Yeah. And you're a mom.
That's right. Yes.
A mom and a wife.
Yes, I'm a mom of 2, and I'm a wife. I'm a wifey.
Yes,
of 6 years. Oh, I think this March will be our 6th anniversary.
Yeah, oh my
6 years. Yeah, I know.
That is so wild.
It's been forever.
It is so crazy. I still outdo Tino, though. I still got 10 years on him. So... All right. So like I said, vulnerability in friendships is what we're talking about today. And I'm going to let Tina read this quote by Stephen Russell as our opener. We have a lot of like inspiration that we pulled this topic from. And so I'm going to turn these over to you.
Absolutely. So he said, vulnerability is the only authentic state. Being vulnerable means being open for wounding, but also for pleasure. Being open to the wounds of life means also being open to the bounty and beauty. Don't mask or deny your vulnerability. It's your greatest asset. Be vulnerable. Quake and shake in your boots with it. The new goodness that is coming to you in the form of people, situations, and things can only come to you when you are vulnerable and open.
Okay.
Love that.
That was a really good quote. It really, like, when I first read that, it like really touched me, and I was just like, vulnerability has actually been something that I've really struggled with, and I've had to have like a lot of intensive therapy. I have mentioned that I have had intensive therapy. I actually, I spent 18 months in intensive outpatient therapy programs, but part of my issue was that vulnerability is like a hard thing for me. Like, sharing things has been really hard. So learning to be an open person has been something that I've had to work on. And like, it's really increased like the intimacy in my friendships and like my chosen family relationships. And it's really helped me bond with people on a deeper level that I couldn't bond with them when I was withholding things about myself. So one thing that I did want to bring up was a video that we found. It just kind of like shifted my perspective and kind of threw me back to when I was in therapy. And in the video, there was a guy who asked, he goes, do you feel good when you help your friends when they are struggling? And do you want to deny your friends the chance to feel good by helping you? And so back when I was in therapy, and I was working on being vulnerable, I had to learn that I don't have the right to tell my loved ones that they can or cannot love me. And on the receiving side, if they told me that I couldn't love them, I really understood that point when I realized that I would be hurt if somebody had done that to me. And so I kind of realized it was like a gift. Like if somebody came and gave me a plant or like a bouquet of flowers, it would be like, okay, well, I have the choice. Like when I receive that gift, do I just let that plant or that bouquet just like, sit without having like water and like the care that a plant needs? Or do I sit there and I water it and I put it in sunlight and, take care of it? And so when somebody is giving you the gift of love, like you have to let them foster that love within you, and you have to help that love foster within you as well. Because receiving love is just as important as giving it.
Exactly.
And so that was like a big thing for me, was allowing people to love me and being vulnerable in that state as well. We were actually talking about this before, when it comes to like, the give and take between love between friends, that we have the obligation to properly communicate our needs and our boundaries, because with everybody's got their own love languages, both like a love language for how they give to people and a love language for how they receive love. And so learning to communicate those things are really important, because uncommunicated expectations cause premeditated resentments.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really like a good point that you brought up, that we were talking about that.
Yeah. And I actually was just going to say something about that too. I really love that, it kind of just emphasized on communication a lot, because a lot of times, just like what you were saying earlier, how, it took you a while to really, do not to come out of that masking your, what did it say over there?
Like my needs.
Exactly. And I love that it says that right there, because a lot of people, like, they're just so like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to, they just seem like it. And it just goes to show that, that pride that we were talking about,
or like so, people have been taught like to shrink themselves because their needs are burdensome.
Exactly. Yeah. That was another one too. Like, I don't want to burden them with my problems. And I just think that, like, there's got to be a balance, right? And but I feel like if you really need it and you're really going through a hard time, and you really need that friend to be there for you, I think you are responsible for your own, your own self, to be able to get you the help that you need. And if you don't, then you deny yourself that opportunity to, one, be healed and feel that love and support, and to also grow with your friend too. And that's why you get, and that's where you get a lot of these like friends that's like, and you get this a lot with people when you come across meeting them, because you'll know who's really authentic and who's really, you could really tell from just vibing with them, who's really going to be there,
like
and
that genuine,
exactly,
like,
yeah. And so if you're like that to yourself, then how are you going to be like that to others? You know what I mean? So do not deny yourself the help, because if you deny yourself the help, then how can you be there for somebody else? You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of how I was. It's just interesting that you bring this up, because that's kind of how I was before. I was very like, well, I'll be there for you, but then when it comes to me, I'm like, well, I just don't want to. No. I don't want to bother them with my problems. My problem is just like, it's not that important. You know what I mean? But then I put on this face like, I'll be there for you. But then that's not a really good. It
was like dismissing your struggles. And it was dismissing like the trials and like things that you were going through.
Yeah, exactly. And and you doing that to yourself could also, like, in the long term, it affects others too. You know what I mean? Because you may think that you're really being there for them, but you're actually not really investing like you should be with yourself first. So I think vulnerability in friendship really starts with yourself first, before before somebody else could be there to, for you guys to share that bond and to grow together too. But you really need to recognize that for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, how could I be vulnerable? How could I, how could I start with myself? And how could I, and if I'm really confident and I love myself enough, I will ask this person to help, for help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I also think, like, going along with what you're saying, like when you do withhold seeking out that support from your loved ones, that it's a huge form of self-sabotage. And I don't think that like a lot
we
of
talked
people
about
realize that.
self-sabotage a lot because, you know.
Hello, queen of self-sabotage
Yep,
right here.
yes. And it's interesting that we have talked about that. And I feel like for you and I, our friendship has been like just been open. And you know, I mean, there were some rough times between, but I feel like we've talked about it. And I feel like you've been able to help me just come out of that shell of being, you know, not vulnerable enough. You know what I mean? Like I'm always like, but I'm afraid, I'm this, oh, they're gonna think this, and you're just in the way. I've had people tell me how to be and how to ask for help, but Myranda just has a way of like, she just has a way of telling you, but also not like speaking above you. She's just so good at like, you know, being at your level and telling like, look, I get it. You know what I mean? We're right here, but let's go right here together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just love that. Oh, sorry.
No, you're
I
okay.
just love that about you. And I just feel like in another word to put it, because I kind of grew up in a very rough environment, and I, you know, my parents are really hard on me, and, you know, I'm used to harsh words all the time, you know, but Miranda just has a way of like, validating and also seeing your perspective and where you're at, but also like, you know, I mean, empowering you to, you could be so much more though. You know what I mean? You're great, but you could be so much more great, you know? So I just love that about you. And I think that, you know, you just share that light with others around you. And people around you are really lucky to just, you know, be able to learn that from you too, because you're really good at like just talking and just being there. And so yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And you know, I think this is one other thing, like where you brought up like the little rough like spots that we've had, like being vulnerable and talking about those moments. I think honestly, as rough as they were, that they are some of the most beautiful moments, because we've always been like, you know what? I don't care. I love you more than like anything that's gone on, and I want you in my life. And so we sat there and we just, forgiveness is like a really beautiful thing to give. And so I think between both of us, like that's really brought us really close together as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And this is why it's good for us to do this, because, you know, it kind of empowers us to, you know, if there's any like problems or anything like that in the future, or anything that we have a hard time just coming or talking about it, this is really good to keep in mind, because I feel like this is a growing opportunity. You know what I mean? We were able to not only like gain these knowledge, but also to emotionally like, oh, like, well, I can lean on this person and know that she'll be there.
It's like, if I water you, you water me.
Yeah.
And we grow together.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a beautiful part of friendship.
Yeah. I love that.
I love you.
Oh, thanks.
Getting all in my feels.
I know, right?
Oh. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. So, since we like totally went on a little spill.
I know, right? Yeah.
Our second video.
I love what she said though. That video that we were talking about. I love what she said. Yeah.
So good. So the second video that we watched was this woman, and she was discussing a point in her life where she was just like really going through it. She was suffering immensely, and her friend that she had of 26 years was absolutely oblivious to what was going on with her. And I think like a key part of a friendship, especially like when you are building intimacy in that relationship, is that you have to remember that friendship is not an opportunity, but it's rather a very sweet responsibility. And so she said that she told her best friend, listen, I don't need much because I ain't needy. I don't ever ask for nothing because I'm strong as hell. But right now, I'm broken. And right now, I need you to call me 2 to 3 times a day. I need you to text me throughout the day and say, are you okay? Do you need anything? And whatever I say, just bring it. But I need that every day until I tell you to stop. And then her best friend, in tears, responded, I'm so sorry. You've never needed this. You didn't tell me. I got you. And she showed up for her friend as she was asked to, until her friend communicated that she was all right and she no longer needed that support.
Yeah.
which is like something I absolutely love, because I love that she defined those boundaries and she communicated what she needed.
Yeah.
Because like it's hard. Like you can't expect anybody to sit there and know that you need anything. But especially like as a stronger person, like somebody, especially like me and you, like we're very resilient and very adaptable,
very independent,
very much so, very hyper independent.
Yeah.
Like it's much like, okay, well, that person's strong. She doesn't need anything. She hasn't said that she needs anything anyways.
Yeah.
And if she did need anything, what would she need? I don't even know what she would need.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like that's also important that we figure out what we need.
Yeah.
And then communicate that to the people that we know who want to show up and who will show up for us.
I really like that I really like that. I feel like I think a lot of times there are those friends who are, you know, strong and independent and don't really come to you, but when they're really struggling, that they really needed help, they really have a hard time telling you. But then there's also other friends who are just talking your ear out, you know, just
trauma dumping.
So I feel like, you know, that's also a boundary that needs to be communicated. You know, I don't want this to come across like it's okay for you to go trauma dumping. You know what I mean? Like you just go trauma dumping as much as you can. No, I feel like if you're a true friend and you really love your friend that much, you know what I mean? You will know that difference when it comes to that boundary. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I really did struggled with those friends who were always just because I'm a very easy person to get along with
and to
talk to. Yes,
people come to you too.
Exactly, and people come to you too. And I feel like we have talked about this too, because I feel like, oh, I'm hearing her saying that over and over again. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And this is also including families, and we'll talk about that another time. But like
that is a whole other subject.
Yes, you know what I mean? Like, and it's interesting because if you grew up in a family like that, just used to that trauma and that toxic, you know, environment and relationship, it's hard for you to kind of discern those boundaries when it comes to like, you know, healthy, you know,
you can't have a healthy relationship with somebody who keeps on bringing like toxic energy and toxic
not only that, but it's hard for you to have that with others. Others who may really need you to be there for
all that energy and it gives it to them. And then you have nothing left for the people who really genuinely need you.
And so that was like another thing that I was thinking about when I watched this video, and I was like, I like that, the communication. Like I think that it's hard, but it needs to be talked about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I think we should just do another one on communication.
I think we should do a whole video on communication.
Because I'm really huge on that, because it just literally, even I myself had problems with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it took a long time.
And I will say, even though you have had problems, you have to remember you came from a completely different culture.
Yeah.
You spoke a completely different
language. Yes.
You grew up in a completely different world.
Yes.
And like it took you time to not only learn how to like actually verbally and like articulate like word wise like what you were like dealing with, but also to communicate like how it was impacting you, like how you felt, and to communicate those things is like a huge deal, because most of the time, like for example, like in therapy, I can sit there and I can go off and I can list, okay, yep, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. But when they ask me like how I feel about like what those things did to me, like it's really hard for me to communicate that. And so it's a really hard thing to sit there and learn to communicate how you're feeling as well, in addition to what you're going through, so that way people can be there for you, not just like help you like problem solve, but to actually be supportive of you mentally, emotionally, and like, you know, that interdependence that like you should have in like a healthy relationship with somebody.
I think this is where we, you know, just to go back to talk about our friendship a little bit, I think this is where like you really like, we thrive together as, you know, as friends, because I feel like, you know, you were really good at just being patient with me. Because I remember like, you know, I remember a lot of people like, I just felt a ton of judgment, you know, from other people, not only from like because of where I'm from, but just like the lack of ability to communicate, you know what I mean? But you were just like, you're just there, you know what I mean? You were just somebody that I could lean on, you know, and you tried your very best to like, you know, to understand me in your own way, but you're also like very loving about it. And I think that's really rare to come.
Thank you.
Because a ton of people are not not that patient, and two,
I also think they don't know how to give people space.
Exactly.
Like, it is not that hard to take a step back and be like, this person needs this moment.
Yeah.
And they need me. So I am going to give them the space to sit there and just exist as a human being.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember like the whole Jeff thing. You were just so like, you were an absolute like great friend, the shoulder to lean on. You were really, really there for me, and I'm just so lucky to have a friend like that, because there's a ton of people out there. I want to say that, and I want it to come from a place of like love and gratitude, because there's a ton of people out there that are lonely, and doesn't have anybody.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. I like to think of myself as a very lucky person.
I think I'm really lucky too. Yeah. That's so sweet.
So yeah.
That. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then we were going to talk
I love that. Yes. I love when he talked about that. The code word. Yes.
Yes.
The second video, what he was talking about. I love that. I love that because it goes to the communication part, right? A lot of times they're not going to know what you're going through unless you talk about it, right? And create a code word.
Yeah, a code word is like really important to sit there and have, because like if you can't sit there and like articulate what you're going through, then you can sit there and just be like, my code word is, I don't know, I see a cookie jar, cookie.
Yeah.
My code word is cookie. That means I'm really, that's like my SOS. That's how you sit there and you let somebody know. And you don't have to say anything. Like, they just know that you're dealing like with things.
Yeah.
And then you can sit there, and I will, trigger warning, like if they're dealing with suicide ideation, like that's a really good thing to sit there and have between you guys. If they're dealing with like depression, if they're dealing with anxiety, if they're going through a breakup, if they just lost a job. I mean, if they're dealing with anything in their life that is life altering, having a code word is really helpful, because sometimes there are just days where you cannot get what's in your head out.
Exactly.
And like, it's just easier just to sit there and be like, yep, that's my code word. Can you just be here for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think in today's society, it's very counterintuitive. We tend to like pride ourselves in not needing others, when the reality is like we're naturally programmed to need healthy and secure relationships with others for survival. Like that's naturally built into us.
Yeah.
So,
So I love the example that he gave, how, anybody can step out of a meeting for 8 minutes to help a friend out.
Oh yeah. So let's backtrack. So with the code word, he was talking about his friend, Maria, and Maria had sat there and sent him a text, and she just would ask him if he wanted to get together, because she had read somewhere that all somebody needs not to feel alone is 8 minutes, which is nothing. 8 minutes of your time to give to your friend. Then they don't feel alone, and they don't feel like they're dealing with things by themselves, and they're not struggling by themselves. So like, I love that it's literally just 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible what 8 minutes does.
Yeah.
Like, just sit there with your friend. You can just sit in silence, or you could go and get an ice cream, or,
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that they had talked about too, is he was like, I mean, if she texts him 8 minutes, like, do you have 8 minutes? Then that's your code word.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was cool.
I love that.
We should have a code word.
Yes. Maybe that should be what ours is. Do you have 8 minutes?
Do you have 8 minutes?
That's a really good one, because then like you can establish, like, you're asking like a boundary, because you're like, hey, this is how much time I need.
Yeah.
That I do need you, and like those two things together are like really communicative.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool.
Was he also the one that was like, he was over at her place, they were having dinner, and then she was going on about like these things that she was having a hard time with, or how she, or how much of like that week was super hard for her, or something like that. And then he was like, okay, I'm trying to be understanding, but I also like, he felt like I was so upset that you didn't call me. You know what I mean? You didn't give me that
Oh,
opportunity to like sit in the mud with
yes.
you or something like that.
I do have that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's another one of the quotes
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah. And I love
So
that. I love that because I was like, oh,
I
wow.
know when I sat there and I heard that, I was like shook.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So what he says is, he goes and talks to his friend and he's like, you're one of those, he goes, you are one of those friends. If I was really in the shit, I would call you. To which his friend replied, I'd be mad if you didn't.
Yep.
When you don't call me and ask for help, when you don't call me and say, I'm in the mud, you denied me the opportunity, the joy, the honor of sitting in the mud with you.
Yes.
And I absolutely loved that.
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
sent chills down my spine.
I know.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, I've never thought about it that way. It's like just to sit there and just sit with somebody, like the fact that, you know, not, I don't think everybody realizes like it is an honor and a privilege to show up for people.
Exactly.
Like it really is.
Yeah.
So, and then just talking about like friendship really quick. I personally think that people significantly, and it's probably, you know, it's in the subconscious, but they undervalue platonic love and intimacy with their friends because society puts like so much emphasis on like romantic love and like, you know, with Valentine's Day coming up, it's like everything's like commercialized for couples and like it's everything's, and I'm like,
it's starting to be a norm, like it's, but it shouldn't be normalized that way, you know what I mean?
And like with the thing about platonic love that I absolutely like am a huge fan of is like with platonic love, it's like I'm choosing you every day, which is like a huge like unconditional type of love that a lot of people, you know, if they don't have friendship, like that lack of connection, they don't have that love. And like to have like an unconditional love, like an unconditional support, I think that's absolutely just like beautiful. Like it's a phenomenal thing to have. It's such a blessing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's also really rare because not a lot of people have the knowledge to have that type of friendship, you know what I mean? Or people sometimes are just going through life, you know, take what comes, and they just don't know how to what to make out of it, you know what I mean? And I think that like a good, healthy, vulnerable friendship allows you to not only grow with the person, but to always be there for one another as a shoulder to lean on.
Oh
you know
yeah.
what I mean? And that's also really rare because you know.
Yeah. And it's imperative like to have like a healthy relationship with somebody, like you have to have that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because they're otherwise it's like you can have like a friendship, but it's like within a bounds.
Yeah.
And then like as soon as you start experiencing that vulnerability, that relationship opens up and like there's so much more growth to it. Like you can't grow together if you lack that vulnerability with each other.
Yeah. I also think it's like a challenge for yourself to like, you know, be don't you know, I think it's important to like recognize that's when you also will know who your real friends are. Like if this friend has been in your life for this long, but when you try to communicate and you know that they're not, that vulnerability is not being reciprocated, then maybe that's not a really healthy relationship to have. You know what I mean? And you'll know by the right people that comes in your life. You know? And you yourself, you'll grow from this a lot because you give yourself the opportunity to grow, and to by loving yourself first, to be able to open yourself to vulnerability, you know, to ask for that help, to, and then that's, to me, I feel like that's when you know who your real friends are, the ones that's going to stick around. And so, you know, don't be afraid to open up. If they come around, they stick around, they're the right person for you.
And also, just on the opposite side of things, show up for your friends. Like if you sit there and you say that you're a friend, show up for them, make space for them, give them a place to be vulnerable, make them feel comfortable with you.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're going to sit there and you have that expectation for them to be there for you, and you hope that they would be there for you, be that for other people.
Yeah.
Like whatever you wish that you had, be that way for other people.
Exactly.
You know,
I think sometimes that's really important. I'm really glad you bring that up because a lot of times that can be misinterpreted. Like, like when I talk about self-love, a lot of people are like, well, me, I love myself so much. I'm like, well, there's got to be a boundary within that too, because loving yourself is is more than just look at me. I'm gonna just take a whole day to myself and then just eat all the chocolate I want in the world. Well,
It's not as egocentric.
exactly. I think a lot of times people like they misunderstood that. I think loving yourself is allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to be open to like these are the things that I need to work on. These are the things that I'm allowing myself to feel because I really need it in this moment. When you do that, when you experience self-love, you are able to ask for help. And when you do that, it gives the other person, it shows the other person you're true, you're being authentic,
Yes.
you really need help, and
I think it also like really like ties into like self-compassion as well.
yeah, self-compassion.
Yes, because if you have like a self-love,
Yeah.
you have to have that self-compassion
Yeah.
for yourself,
Yeah.
where you're like,
I love you. You
I'm
always
human.
fill in the good words. Like, I always think about it, like, I'm thinking of the word, but I can't think of it. So I like use something other than you said. Like that's exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
just read each
I
other's
know.
minds.
I
We're
know.
always on
Like
the same
yeah, I
vibe.
just love it.
Always.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
But yeah, like it pulls in that self-compassion because if you don't like have that self-compassion for yourself to be human and to experience your human journey,
yeah,
then you're going to sit there and you're going to be critical of yourself, and that is not self-love.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then that affects others too. Well, like I mean, like how if you're doing that to yourself, then how are you going to be a good friend to someone?
Yeah.
How are you going to be there for them if you're doing that to yourself?
And how are you going to teach them to be there for you? Because like the way that you treat yourself is like the blueprint for how other people learn to treat you.
Exactly. That's yes. Yeah, that you're just on the money right there. And I've seen that so many times within myself and other friends that I've had too. I've seen that so much. Like I realized like the way that I treat myself, it really it speaks volume of who's around and who I tend to kind of, kind of just linger around. And I realized that like the way that you treat yourself is also very, very valuable to, it goes to tell like, well, it's this, like if I have a friend, who really needs help, like, and then will she or he feel they can trust me? You know what I mean?
Trust is a huge thing,
yeah,
especially like when you're first developing that friendship, or like when you have something big that comes up.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like shame and guilt are like,
yes,
they absolutely destroy people. But like when you sit there and you have to really swallow those, and come to somebody and be like, hey, like this is something that's gone on, or this is something that I'm going through, like trusting them to sit there and like not judge you, to be there for you, and to help you move through things. That's like a huge deal.
Yes, I agree.
So always show your like gratitude. Always show your appreciation for those people. Vocalize that, because like I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people forget when they do have that support is that the appreciation and gratitude are not vocalized all the time. Like they may feel that, and they may feel like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for this person. But that other person, unless that has been vocalized and expressed, they're not going to understand and know that they are that valuable. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's just being able, going back to communication. That's just what it's very, very important.
Absolutely.
Communication is love.
Lots of love. We love love. We're just lover girls.
Just speak your mind. You gotta.
Open.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I hear Mango in the room. I'm thinking
Mango's like, oh, why am I not out here and making like this video with them? They're having too much fun without me. But we just wanted to share in closing just a couple of New Year's goals, because I promised that we would share some of our goals for the new year. So while you think about which ones you want to share, I'll share mine. So one of my goals this year, back in May of 2024, so last year, I shattered my pelvic bone, and I have really been physically struggling to kind of bounce back from that. So my goal is to participate in a 5K this year. So that way I can like rehab well enough to sit there and actually do something, get back into like the swing of things that I was doing. I used to do mobility yoga, and I was very active. And so trying to get that back is something that is a big goal for me. And then another one of my goals is to attend a workshop or an online course that can improve my personal growth And then my last one is to keep up with what I call my morning study routine. This is going to be something we have to do a video on because I think this would be really important for a lot of people to hear. It involves a lot of journaling, reading, doing affirmations, and a few other things. So if you're interested in that, you can always leave a comment and we'll discuss that in one of our upcoming episodes. So what are your goals for 2025?
I just probably like have one or two.
That's okay.
I haven't
one
really,
or two is still important.
I feel like I really haven't thought much into it. And I can't believe we're like,
it's because you got mom
we have
brain.
a month in. Like January is gone.
I know. Finally, it's gone. It felt like a whole year in itself.
Yeah,
but like then it's like gone.
Whoa. January is like January is gone, and I feel like, oh my gosh, like this year's. I feel like it just started and January is gone already, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm still trying to gather my thoughts here. Hold on,
you're like, hold on,
stop the time.
Just getting chill out.
For me, it's just to continue taking care of my health. I feel like
that's a good goal.
That's something that I've struggled with. So I'm pre-diabetic, so we talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just as simple as taking care of my health. I need to just get a consistent routine where it's ingrained in here.
Consistency is a great goal.
Yeah.
And so don't undermine that. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And consistency is my strongest. I struggle with that the most.
So. I mean, it's kind of hard. You're a mom, your wife, you're human.
Yeah.
So it's not,
I know. Yeah.
Give yourself some credit. There's that self-compassion that you need.
Yes, that's true.
You need that self-compassion.
Yes. And so no excuse though. So for me, it's taking care of my health, and I'm gonna try and go back to dancing. So yes, I'm gonna get that class going, and then I'm gonna get back on my feet.
Maybe I should join you once I sit there and get my hips moving. get my hips moving again.
My husband comes in like, what kind of dance class is this?
It's twerking, honey.
It's twerking one-on-one.
That would be fun. We should do it together. We'll make that like a goal.
Heck yeah.
A weekly dance.
Okay, let's do it. Because I'm more accountable if somebody does it with me.
I'm down.
You already know how it is when I have to do it by myself.
You'll see a dance video here soon. Her like, you guys have to understand, like, her dancing is incredible. Like, you've competed.
Oh yeah.
And you've done like a ton of stuff. She's a great teacher. So it'll be fun. Yeah. We'll do something.
I like to have fun.
Fun. Yes, you're always fun.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So just as we wrap up, we just wanted to remind you that our upload schedule is the first Wednesday of the month, which means our next episode is going to be on Wednesday, March 5th. That's 2 days after my 35th birthday. So, woo! We're getting down there.
I know, yeah.
We are getting down there.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be able to find us on our socials, which per usual, I'll just link in the description. And then don't forget to subscribe. That way you can also get our notifications so you don't miss anything, because we do love connecting with you guys. We do like to sit there and share these things with like our community, because we want to improve the lives of those around us. Like, that's the whole goal that me and Tina have like really wanted to focus in on while we do this podcast, is to help other people make their lives better. So we appreciate your support, and we just want to encourage you to take care of yourself and do something every day that you need that will make you happy. If it's 5 minutes, if it's an hour, whatever, it's important to take care of yourself, because you are important, you are worthy, and you deserve to be happy. So thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.